Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 10, Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. And this morning, we're on text 29. We're very fortunate to have Her Grace Anandarupa Mataji from ISKCON DC to give the class. Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. You can unmute yourself, then we can hear you.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Gauranga. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes. Hare Krishna. Just one quick caution, or at least honestly, I wanted me to let you know. Normally, we go for the class until 10 of 9. Then for questions, 10 minutes, then we break. So people who need to start work at 9 o'clock can do that. So just so you know, we go to 8:50. Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Please go on. Please start.
All right. Let us start with Jai Radha Madhav prayers. Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Jai Om Prabhupada Paramhans Parivrajakacarya Ashtotar Shat Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhans Parivrajakacarya Ashtotar Shat Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय. श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय. वृंदावन धाम की जय. माया धाम की जय. जगन्नाथ धाम की जय. गंगा मई की जय. यमुना मई की जय. भक्ति मई तुलसी देवी की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to
Hare
assembled
Krishna.
devotees. All
Hare
to
Krishna.
assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Om
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiryet. Shautam so Katha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantasto He Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhrit Satam Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavate Ruttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So today we are reading from Canto 2, Chapter 10, verse 29. This chapter is titled, what is the title of the chapter? Anyone remembers? All right.
Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
All right. Āditsor anna-pānānām āsan kukṣy-antra-nāḍayaḥ nadyaḥ samudrāś tayos tuṣṭiḥ puṣṭis tad-āśraye āditsor anna-pānānām āsan kukṣy-antra-nāḍayaḥ nadyaḥ samudrāś tayos tuṣṭiḥ puṣṭis tad-āśraye āditsor anna-pānānām āsan kukṣy-antra-nāḍayaḥ nadyaḥ samudrāś tayos tuṣṭiḥ puṣṭis tad-āśraye. Anyone would like to recite?
Āditsor anna-pānānām āsan kukṣy-antra-nāḍayaḥ nadyaḥ samudrāś tayos tuṣṭiḥ puṣṭis tad-āśraye. Hare Krishna.
āditsor anna-pānānām āsan kukṣy-antra-nāḍayaḥ nadyaḥ samudrāscha tayos tuṣṭiḥ puṣṭis tad-āśraye. Hare Krishna.
All right. Hare Krishna. So, after this verse, let's, this is our parampara to recite, after the verse, we should see benedictions. We can do translation first, actually. There are synonyms also. Prabhuji, let me do the synonyms. Āditsor, desiring to have. Anna-pānānām, of food and drink. Āsan, there became. Kukṣy, the abdomen. Antra, the intestines. Nāḍayaḥ, and the arteries. Nāḍayaḥ, the rivers. Samudra, seas. Cha, also. Tayo, of them. Tuṣṭiḥ, sustenance. Puṣṭis, metabolism. Tat, of them. āśraye, the source. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When there was a desire to have food and drink, the abdomen and the intestines and also the arteries became manifested. The rivers and seas are the source of their sustenance and metabolism. Purport. The controlling deities of the intestines are the rivers, and those of the arteries, the seas. Fulfillment of the belly with food and drink is the cause of sustenance, and the metabolism of the food and drink replaces the waste of the bodily energies. Therefore, the body's health is dependent on healthy actions of intestines and the arteries. The rivers and the seas, being the controlling deities of the two, keep the intestines and the arteries in healthy order. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Guru Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you for this opportunity today, continuing in this chapter 10 of Canto 2, verse number 29. So, every one of us, at least on this call, we have opportunity to honor prasadam every day. We eat something, every one of us drinks something, and each of us is breathing right now. So we should pause to think, we should ask, who is sustaining this? And Srimad Bhagavatam, wisdom, it invites us to see something extraordinary hidden inside our day-to-day life. We hear and we say God provides, but Srimad Bhagavatam trains us to see how he provides through systems which we are reading about, so intimate that they operate inside our own body and so vast that they move through even rivers and oceans. So today in this talk, we will learn, we will see through the Shastra Chakshu, eyes of the scriptures, Krishna's mercy in our daily sustenance. And we will learn this devotional art of living with gratitude, cleanliness, consciously. So now Bhagavatam is revealing that our digestion is not accidental. Our circulation is not independent. And our health depends on systems governed by Krishna's arrangement. That's the divine arrangement. And there is mention of rivers and oceans, the same ones we see on earth, as part of Krishna's maintenance system. So now as we move forward in this chapter through different verses, one ultimate truth is surfacing that everything rests on āśraye. We talked about it. We have been talking about it in past several verses. The supreme shelter. It is the listed 10th subject matter out of 10 subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam, āśraye. So from these lines in translation and purport, we understand that the controlling deities of the intestines are the rivers. The controlling deities of arteries are the seas. And filling the belly sustains the body. Metabolism replaces the waste of bodily energies. And our health depends on healthy actions of intestines and arteries. Rivers and seas are the controlling deities, keep the systems mentioned in healthy order. Now, this is not some random physiology. This is Srimad Bhagavatam wisdom, which is helping us understand about our daily life. Now, this chapter is titled Bhagavatam is Answer to All Questions, and it explains 10 characteristics. Around that, we understand how reality, real life, which we see, is structured, protected, and ultimately anchored in āśraye, the supreme shelter. So let's take a look in this deeper teaching, how our body is not independent, how our environment is not accidental, how are these demigods or devas, they are not mythological decoration, and how we can see Krishna in day-to-day happenings in day-to-day life, how Krishna sustains us through very intelligent, delegated, mercy-filled order. And Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam verses are teaching us how to see it. So I have an acronym, a short acronym, DIET, with the help of which I have structured this talk and which will help us remember most of the points, even much after, this talk is done. So D stands for desire, because this verse, it talks about that. And I'm going to talk about how through Srimad Bhagavatam lens, we can see desire triggers manifestation and direction. So now we all have heard healthy mind resides in a healthy body. We observe that also. And healthy body requires nourishment and cleanliness. And so reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand rivers and oceans become visible symbols of Krishna's provision. So externally, we know water to be used as for bathing, washing, cooking, agriculture, so many different ways, travel, cleanliness, shaucham, right? But internally, the cosmic management supports intestines and arteries. So therefore, we can see Krishna, how Krishna is taking care. Devotee sees Krishna's mercy everywhere. And this is spiritual outlook. Not only, we should pray for blessings, but also recognize blessings are already flowing externally and internally. So now, the desire creates direction. And when we intake in personal level or in different levels, we see in creation, it creates dependence. And then there is ecosystem, and elimination is happening at different levels. It creates cleanliness and health. And in this way, one should develop trust in Lord's āśraye. It creates gratitude and surrender. So let's start from when there was a desire to have food and drink, In this particular verse, in the translation, the first section says, when there was desire to have food and drink. So this āditsor, desiring. So this desire is not trivial. Desire is the seed of embodiment. So the deeper insight we get is Bhagavatam is teaching something much deeper. And we should understand that Lord is so attentive that even the desire to eat is answered with whole system of provision. So before the stomach exists, desire exists. Before the body functions, desire directs. So our life today is the visible form of our past desires. And our future will be shaped by our present desires. So that teaches us responsibility. So knowing about desires, what do we understand? That teaches us responsibility. If desire is uncontrolled, it produces uncontrolled intake. And if the desire is purified, it produces devotional intake. So desire can be consumption-based, meaning someone with consciousness, I want to enjoy. And desire can be service-based, meaning I want to serve. So in this way, that helps us reflect how a devotee feels, how their consciousness should be. For example, Krishna is not giving you big blessings. He is sustaining your digestion, your circulation, your metabolic balance without you even asking consciously. So devotee thinks even my ability to digest is not mine. It is Krishna's mercy. Let's quickly talk about Mother Yashoda chasing Krishna. So she was churning butter early in the morning. Externally, she was doing something simple. But internally, she was thinking this butter is for my Krishna. Her hands were working, but her heart was absorbed in service. And when Krishna comes, He demands her attention and she stops everything to serve him. And later, when he breaks the butter pots, she chases him, not with anger, but with loving determination. So the Supreme Lord, who sustains entire universe, allows himself to be chased by his devotee. Why? Because few things. Because her desire was pure, her desire was not for herself, and her desire was to serve him. So this is how we can ask ourselves, what am I doing? Am I working for my survival? Is it only for comfort, only for identity, or am I living to serve Radha Krishna? Now, two people can perform same activity. One becomes spiritually liberating, the other becomes spiritually binding. The difference is desire. Just like we understand from Shastras, difference between lust and love. One is around pleasing for our own sense gratification. The other is for the pleasure of the Lord. That is pure love. Now, from childhood, typically in material consciousness, we are trained to ask, what do I want from life? But Bhagavatam trains us to ask, what does Krishna want from me? So this shift transforms everything. So Srila Prabhupada would say, we suffer or enjoy according to our desires and activities. He would say, if you simply desire Krishna, Krishna will give you intelligence. At different purports, he has mentioned, as one desires, the Lord gives facility. The living entity is desiring and Lord is fulfilling his desire. So we can reflect on this. What desire is running my day? Is my diet of the mind feeding humility or agitation? So this particular chapter, it is nicely organizing reality into topics that culminate in āśraye, the 10th subject matter. And desire without āśraye becomes, there was a verse we talked about it, how entities are wandering. So desire without āśraye becomes wandering, and desire connected to Krishna becomes purposeful. So in the acronym diet D, I talked about desires, referring to the translation and purport. Now let's talk about I. With I, let's try to understand intake. There's a text mentioned, text says abdomen, intestines, arteries manifested. So first part we did when there was desire to have food and drink, and then it says the abdomen and the intestines and also the arteries became manifested. Now, let us try to, understand. Here it says intake. So intake is central to life, and intake is never isolated. And Bhagavatam reveals rivers sustain intestines and oceans sustain arteries. This means our ability to digest depends on systems far beyond our control. Who is sustaining? Krishna is sustaining us through his creation. Srila Prabhupada explains Krishna is maintaining every living entity. So Bhagavatam's message, your intake is so central that your body's architecture is built around it. But we can understand through purport little more deeply. The intestines have controlling deities as rivers, and the arteries have controlling deities, seas. This means intake is not merely personal, it is supported by a divine arrangement. It is the cosmic network of devas, ultimately under Krishna. Now, how does the Lord sustain us? Krishna sustains us in layers. Okay, directly he is the ultimate maintainer, Bharta, through material nature, seasons, rain, soil, water cycle, and through delegated controllers. Who are these controllers? the controlling deities, devatas, demigods as administrators, and through intimate bodily systems. What are those? Different systems in our body: digestion, circulation, metabolism, and so on. So through the wisdom in this chapter, we see all of this rests on āśraye. So seeing mercy in ordinary, well, day-to-day moments, if one is not thinking spiritually, they may call it ordinary. We see glass of water, that is mercy of Lord. A functioning stomach is mercy. A stable blood flow is mercy. A river that carries life and sustenance is mercy. And an ocean that stabilizes climate and water cycle is mercy. So we can see how Krishna is caring for us through his entire creation. Bhagavad Gita, we read in different sections. I have references here. Krishna says, I am the maintainer of all living entity. And then at other places, Srila Prabhupada explains in purport, nothing is independent of Krishna. Okay, and then Prabhupada repeatedly teaches us prasadam purifies and spiritualizes intake. He says, when we take Krishna prasadam, we become purified. So how do we understand this intake beyond food? So let's reflect on what we eat, what we hear, what we watch, what we discuss, who we associate with, what we repeatedly contemplate. And Srimad Bhagavatam is an answer to all questions because it corrects our intake at the root, Shravanam. So there is a beautiful pastime, many of you already know about it, about the fruit vendor. A fruit vendor came to sell fruits and baby Krishna wanted fruit. He grabbed grains to trade, but his small hands couldn't hold them properly. And by the time he reached the fruit vendor, almost grains had fallen. Still, he offered what remained in his hand. The fruit vendor saw baby Krishna's sincerity and she gave him fruits generously. Later, her basket became filled with jewels. So we understand Krishna does not measure the material quantity of our offering. He measures the sincerity of our heart. So the question for us is, how mindful is our intake? Not just food, but everything. There is Ishavasya principle in Ishopanishad. Anyone remembers? What is the Ishavasya principle? Anyone remembers, wants to comment? Ishavasya principle says one should take only the assigned quota, intake. And so our consciousness becomes shaped by our intake. So what we watch, what we hear, what we discuss, what we allow into our consciousness impacts us. So now when we honor prasadam attentively, we grow spiritually. When we hear Srimad Bhagavatam attentively, our consciousness transforms. When the intake becomes conscious, life becomes devotional. So this is the relevance for especially the practicing devotees. Now, in this diet acronym DIET, we talked D for desire, I for, anyone remembers what we were just hearing? I was for intake.
Intake, Mataji.
Yes, thank you. And now let's go to the third letter E. With the help of E, let's understand the role of ecosystem and elimination. So now the text in the translation says, metabolism replaces. It says the rivers and seas are the source of their sustenance and metabolism. And in purport, Srila Prabhupada says, body's health is dependent on healthy actions of intestines and arteries. The rivers and the seas, being the controlling deities of the two, keep intestines and arteries in healthy order. Okay. So metabolism, we know it replaces waste. Health depends on healthy functioning of intestines and arteries. So here it's mentioned, rivers and oceans sustain these systems. That helps us understand a profound spiritual truth that growth requires purification, not just intake. In the acronym DI, I for intake we talked about. So not just intake, but elimination, DIE. We are talking about ecosystem and elimination now. So spiritually, elimination means removing distractions, removing offenses, removing unhealthy habits, removing egocentric patterns. So Srila Prabhupada teaches devotional service, it cleanses the heart, okay, through fulfillment of belly, through sustenance, through metabolism, when replacement of waste of bodily energies happens. And health depends on healthy actions of intestines and arteries. And rivers and seas as controlling deities keep the systems in healthy order. So now let's see how Lord's mercy acts as clean systems. So Bhagavatam is telling us mercy is not only miracles, mercy is also order, cleanliness, balance, and systems that work. A healthy body requires intake, digestion, absorption, circulation, elimination of waste, and replenishment of energy. Spiritually, this helps us to map perfectly that intake is through hearing, chanting, prasadam, digestion through contemplation and understanding, absorption through practice and habit formation, circulation through service, sharing, steady sadhana. Elimination is working through removing anarthas, offenses, bad habits, and replenishment. How do we see replenishment? Through mercy, association, festivals, nourishment. So in this way, we can understand rivers and oceans keep intestines and arteries in healthy order. And in devotional terms, we can see interconnectedness, that our intestines are not just ours. They are linked to Lord's divine management, cosmic management. A devotee's vision is, I live within Krishna's network. Param drishtva nivartate. And then, second thing, in devotional terms, we learn gratitude and responsibility. So if rivers support inner health and external cleanliness, we treat water as sacred and not exploitative. And then I mentioned earlier about shaucham, cleanliness. How do we understand it in bhakti? External bathing and internal cleanliness are not separate. A clean body supports a clear mind, and a clear mind supports remembrance of Krishna. So earlier, I mentioned healthy mind resides in healthy body. So this becomes a devotional principle. If the goal is not body worship, the goal is to serve. And there is clarity in consciousness, Krishna consciousness. So when the body is neglected, the mind becomes disturbed and sadhana becomes irregular. And when the body is cared for in Krishna consciousness, sadhana becomes steady. So these subjects are discussed at length in all over our shastras. Regularity, cleanliness, Prabhupada said if there is no regularity, punctuality and cleanliness, there will be offenses. So if we want steady sadhana, now we understand the application. So Prabhupada would say regulative principles are meant for purification. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Bhakti is the process of cleansing the heart. And body is a machine. Keep it fit for Krishna's service. Prabhupada said so many wonderful things. I just brought a few of them. So now let's go back to the beautiful Braj pastimes. Momentarily, I like it to keep pulling our consciousness back to Vrindavan. So gopis were performing daily duties. What were they doing? Cooking, cleaning, serving. And they would hear Krishna's flute. What happened to their attentiveness? Their attention would they would be fully absorbed actually. They would forget all distractions and their consciousness became purified. It's mentioned in Krishna book. Their consciousness became purified instantly because their love was pure. So many times devotees ask this question, in Q&A sessions that I'm very distracted during chanting, or how can I improve my sadhana? So distraction is not merely mental weakness. Distraction reflects divided desire. And as we purify our intake and eliminate contaminations, we are talking about the third letter E, elimination in the diet acronym. As we purify intake and eliminate contaminants, attention naturally becomes steady. This is why cleanliness, external and internal, is essential. External cleanliness supports internal clarity, and healthy body supports healthy mind, and healthy mind supports steady devotion. We are familiar with Gajendra, the elephant, who offered beautiful prayers and who was saved at the last minute. So he was powerful in water, yet he became helpless when he was attacked by crocodile. And he struggled for a long time. His strength diminishes. The flowers fall from his trunk. Finally, he offers a lotus and with the prayers and he surrenders. So what we understand is even strong creatures can fall weak when systems fail. Sustenance has its limits. But the true protection is, one of the subject matters mentioned is poshan, the Lord's protection of the surrendered soul. And this chapter includes poshan and āśraye both. Ultimate shelter is Supreme Lord. So Krishna is sustaining us daily until we realize we must consciously turn to him as our shelter. Which brings us to the last letter in the acronym DIET, T, trust in āśraye. So it says tad-āśraye, their source. The verse ends with this word, tad-āśraye. So this is the bridge of this chapter's climax, āśraye. This verse concludes, everything rests on his shelter. The ultimate shelter is Krishna, the supreme shelter. We are not sustaining ourselves. Who is sustaining us? Krishna is sustaining us. How? How is he sustaining us? Through rivers, through oceans, through digestion, through circulation, through countless systems beyond, many times it's beyond our awareness. So Srimad Bhagavatam does not merely explain creation, it explains dependence. Rivers and seas sustain bodily systems. And we have been reading about controlling deities, how they function under higher supervision. And material nature functions under Krishna. Therefore, ultimate source is in āśraye. When we see Lord's mercy in digestion and water systems, we learn to trust that, I am maintained, I am guided, I must live responsibly and gratefully. I must take shelter consciously. I am not abandoned. So in this way, trust becomes devotional engagement. And how we are practicing it? By honoring prasadam with gratitude, by keeping cleanliness as worship, by respecting rivers and oceans as sacred provision, by living regulated life for steady bhakti, and using health for service. So we read about churning of the ocean pastime. And the lesson we get from that is ocean. I mean, there are so many lessons there, but the ocean, we understand ocean is not only water, it has a divine component in Lord's management. The same system can yield crisis and cure depending on Lord's plan. And river and oceans are not merely resources, they are arenas of divine administration. So in this way, when next time we look at ocean, we can remember Krishna's management is vast, patient, and purposeful. So in this way, our spiritual practices, our devotional life, they all become powerful when we begin asking throughout the day, how can this moment serve Guru and Krishna? And we could be doing so many things while, we could be eating, while working, while speaking, while resting. Every moment we can see as a devotional opportunity. As an aspiring devotee, we begin our day consciously. We can offer it to Krishna. We can honor prasadam attentively, not mechanically. We can maintain external cleanliness as devotional discipline. Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam daily. And in this way, we can have pauses throughout the day and consciously remember Krishna's maintenance. So next time, while drinking water, let's pray to have remembrance. Krishna, your systems sustain me. So while drinking water, let's think like that, mentally offer gratitude. Let us honor rivers and oceans. Practice simple environmental responsibility as devotional ethics. Do not treat water always as disposable. Make shaucham as a sadhana. Clean body, clean clothes, clean space. Because external order supports internal steadiness. Now, these are the different ways, practical ways I'm mentioning how one can remember Krishna. Every act can be a service. When we honor prasadam and eat regulated, let's not do it as an austerity show, but as trust. My maintenance comes from Krishna. When we do Shravana and Kirtan, especially reading daily Srimad Bhagavatam as our primary diet, let it become our main meal. So our questions, anxieties, and decisions are digested spiritually. So now at times, devotees may ask or they may feel, will I be safe? Will I be provided for? Will I be okay? What is the meaning of these verses? So this chapter answers the teaching. It answers by teaching the structure of what we see in real life and pointing to the conclusion. Everything rests on āśraye. Our body rests on systems, and these systems rest on devtas. And these devtas, they rest on Lord's authority. And the Lord invites us to āśraye, conscious shelter. So Krishna is already sustaining us through water, through food, through breath, through countless systems which we never see. Question is not whether he is serving us. The question is whether we are consciously serving him. And devotional life begins when every action becomes an offering, when the intake becomes divine. And in this way, we can properly understand and apply how the soul's journey, soul is eternal, soul's journey is eternal. And the acronym which we discussed today, DIET, D-I-E-T. D, we talked about desires, they must be purified and aimed at Krishna. I, we talked about the intakes, how intake is sustained by divine order. We take only what helps bhakti. E, we develop better understanding about ecosystem and elimination, how clean systems are mercy, Shaucham supports clarity, and T, trust in āśraye, live with gratitude under Krishna's shelter. So, because in Srimad Bhagavatam vision, the Lord is not only in temple, he is also in rivers, in oceans, and in hidden systems that keep us alive. That will help us live with gratitude, cleanliness, and trust in āśraye. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, today I tried my best to complete within the mentioned time window. Granth Raj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad Pad ki jai, Anandarupa ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You more than tried to keep within that. Very, very nice lecture, Mataji. Hopefully you weren't feeling forced to try to stay. This 10 of 9 is just a ballpark time thing, yeah. So you go over it a little bit. It's not a big deal at all. But thank you very much for this lecture. Obviously, it's extremely well prepared. The interconnectedness and the stress, particularly I kept hearing āśraye, 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 is a shelter of the Lord in different ways that Bhagavatam makes us think about the things. And I know one thing about me being in science when I was in my school. I know the scientists know very little that Bhagavatam puts out. So much they don't know. So much they really don't know. If they knew, they'd be very humbled by how wonderful Bhagavatam is. Dear devotees, this is the time to unmute yourself. You have questions, you have some realizations and so on. Please unmute yourself and let's have Krishna Katha with Mataji. Jai. Any questions or questions or comments? Anyone? We've had a wonderful diet this morning.
This is the recipe for the spiritual diet.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love it. I really, really, really love it. So, dear devotees, questions? That means you understand everything?
Devotees are
They
practicing reflection and realization at this moment.
maybe they are. Okay. Okay. So, if there are no questions, then we thank you very much for coming on. Some of you are on vacation today because of President's Day, and some of you obviously have to work also. So we respect everybody's time, and Mataji really, really tried to, in one sense, squeeze everything, even though it was very detailed, nice interconnectedness type lecture. We really appreciate that. So, yeah, there is devotees sending. Dear Krishna is saying thank you. This electronic types scrolling up the screen. So have a wonderful day, dear devotees. And of course, think of this lecture. This is recorded on YouTube. You can play it again if you want to hear. It'd be nice to do that. There's so many points to pick up. Vancha kalpatarubhya kripa sundhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, dear devotees. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day and week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.